Thanks for tuning in to the Mike White Show on the Our Football. No, just kidding. It's Jets FM on EOFN as Mike White becomes potentially a cult hero for the New York Jets. And let's hope it's more than just for one memorable performance as the Jets get set to take on the Indianapolis Colts on Thursday after making one minor trade at the deadline. Jan Levine joining me, as always, from RotoWire. Jan, how's it going?
Good. Well, so the question becomes, is he Clint Longley? For those who remember the Dallas Cowboy quarterback, is he Brock Osweiler, who parlayed a couple of big games into a
I think he's better than Brock Osweiler.
Contract?
I think he's better than that. Come on. I think so. What do you think?
Look, if you got played Brock Osweiler's contract, you'd be very happy.
You know, that's I tell you what, and I was talking about that with Evan Lazar doing the Patriots show a couple hours ago. I really believe if he has a good game on Thursday night, Joe Douglas should offer him a quick contract for like 2 years, give him like $10 million, because he's made less than $2 million in his entire career. I can't imagine he won't take that. And the Jets could afford it. They'll lock him up for a couple of years. Because if he gets out in the open market and plays well for 3 or 4 games, the Jets are not going to be able to re-sign him.
I agree. All right, so the follow-up question becomes also is, do we have a quarterback controversy? And Robert Saleh didn't do very much to diminish.
I think he was perfect. I think he said exactly what he should have said. Why would you give Zach Wilson the job? He hasn't earned it. Just say, hey, we'll reach that point when we get there.
I agree. Look, I mean, again, he didn't tamp it down at all. I didn't expect him to. He didn't say, that Wilson's going to have the job. He didn't say Mike White's going to have the job. This is called the not for long for a reason, right? Look, we also have very high hopes for Wilson. Right? We also have both talked a lot about the difficulties he's had to date and the challenges of his play so far. That doesn't mean he won't reach the level, but unfortunately, as we have talked about repeatedly, he would not be the first, second overall pick in the draft to be a bust. And the second overall pick as a quarterback to be a bust, right? There's no guarantees, unfortunately, as we've seen, given the litany of quarterbacks that have flamed out their high draft picks. Jamarcus Russell is just one that comes to mind off the top of my head that flames out. Now, granted, it's one game with Wilson, right? Blind squirrel and acorn. We could use that analogy all we want. Let's see how he plays Thursday. Let's see when teams start to get a book on him if he ends up playing for a couple of more weeks. But agree. Look, if he has a good game, sign him to a contract, see what happens, go from there, and then see what happens afterwards, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not too concerned about what's going to happen, right? But again, I would say that let's get him signed. But Wilson is still the guy. Wilson will be the guy the remainder of the year when he comes back. Wilson will be the guy next year.
Yeah, and that's why,
White's strong play, though, will put a little bit of doubt in the team's mind. And also, you know what? It proves to be a little bit of a prod for Wilson saying, hey, nothing is guaranteed, right? I have nothing guaranteed to me. I need to earn that spot.
Absolutely. It's all good. It can't be. There's nothing bad at all about Mike White performing well. I don't care what. Again, I just hope that they're smart enough that if he does, that they'll lock him up. And because, look, I wouldn't even care if Mike White played so well that they went into camp next year for a competition and Mike White won it because they signed him for a couple of years and Zach just sits for another year. I don't care, because look at Mike White. Mike White sat for 3 years and he gets an opportunity to play, and look at the way he plays. If you sit and you get an opportunity to digest the league, look, a lot of people have a difference of opinion on you should play as opposed to not playing. Jets obviously want their guys to play. That's what we've been talking about all season. They want all these young kids to play. They believe it's a major benefit when they stick all these young kids out on the field. But if White happens to be better than Zach for now, then there's just no reason not to play Mike. Worry about Zach. Kick it down the line a little bit. Not a long time, but a little bit. And it also helps to have 2 good quarterbacks on your roster, because Zach Wilson just got hurt. Quarterbacks get hurt all the time. It's a luxury to have 2 guys that you can count on.
Yeah, look, take a look at the quarterbacks in the league that are playing this year or the last couple of years, right? Justin Fields struggling mightily, right? Everybody
I think he's going to be fine,
Chicago's
though.
still
But he's a rookie.
Chicago's still very high on him, right? Justin Fields is struggling, right? Trey Lance been very up and
Yeah, but
down,
I liked what
right?
Trey Lance did in the
Garoppolo,
Arizona game. So I think he's
yeah,
got a good future.
But Garoppolo is still their number one in my opinion,
For a couple of weeks.
right? You look at Mac Jones, right? I don't know if they've dumbed down the attack, but
yeah, Mac Jones is fine.
But
they're totally set there.
Right. So, but none of them are setting the world afire. None
Nor
of them
would they.
are, right. They're rookie quarterbacks. Yeah. Look, it's rare that a rookie quarterback. Look, even Peyton Manning had 28 picks his first year. Now, we all saw the ascension of him as how he got better during the year. And look, we're talking about a Hall of Famer, right? But it's a known fact. Quarterbacks will struggle. Even veteran quarterbacks will struggle, and rookies are still learning coverages, and they don't do their own zone. They don't do their own blocking protections. There's just a lot that it's thrown at them as a rookie that takes some time to adjust. The one thing I will say that was nice is you see how his teammates reacted to him, which gives you a sense as to the type of person he must be. Because look, every teammate will react because they got to win, but they were over the top in terms of their reaction to
Another reason to lock this kid up if he plays well on Thursday, because that is just another sign that even if he's just your number two, what a valuable number two that would be. So, look, it's a win-win. Obviously, we all hope he plays well on Thursday, win or lose, and then the Jets do the smart thing. And I get the feeling they're going to. I'm not going to, because the worst thing that the Jets could do, that some management, some organizations do, and that is they just decide they're going to hand the job to the high draft pick, no matter how good the other guy looks. And I don't believe that the Jets' smart guys are that dumb. So I think they're going to do the right thing if Mike White plays well enough on Thursday, because who knows if Zach Wilson's going to be ready to go for the Buffalo game, because already the indication is he's going to practice definitely by Buffalo week with the extra time off, and he might be ready to go. So I tell you what, if Mike White plays well and the Jets win and Zach Wilson practices all week for the Buffalo game, I think Mike White's going to start.
First, let's have the first step happen where he plays well.
Yeah, but we might. Yeah, well, what do you think? What would you think?
Playing it out, yeah. I think they can slow play Wilson's return also, right?
Of course.
Injury was a 2 to 4 week injury, right? They could very easily say, look, he's practiced. We don't think he's ready for live action necessarily yet for at least another week. That buys him another week.
But you don't see Mike White playing well, the Jets winning, and then going to Zach Wilson for the Buffalo game.
Probably not. No, I think they'll stay with White at least for one more week.
Yeah, I agree with that. Overall, though, it was just really great. It was a great feeling finally, because even the Tennessee game, it was a win against a good team, but they were missing guys, and it wasn't a pretty game. It was more of a couple of really good plays. And that was the game. And first win, it was nice, but not a game that I wanted to watch again. It wasn't like, I got to watch this game again. I got to dissect the game. You don't do that to games where more than 50% of the game is like not quality television. But that wasn't the case for the Cincinnati game. You wanted to watch that game again. You wanted to find out, hey, what's this? I finally get an opportunity to enjoy the football game. Everybody enjoyed the day. And the interesting thing was that there was like 5 or 6 minutes left in the game and they were down by 2 scores. It just happened so fast. Mike White was like, what, 315, I think, or something like that through the air. They were down 11. It would have been a nice little story. He threw for 300 yards in a losing effort. He was better than anybody thought. And just like that, within 5 minutes, they went from that to they actually won the football game. He threw for over 400 yards, and he had all these historical records and the points and the this and the that. I can't even count the historical records that were made in that game, and I just think it's a great feeling, and I think Jet fans deserved it.
Well, the crowd was not full, that's for sure. There was a lot of empty seats there.
I have no problem with that.
The environment was one that ended up panning out a lot better. Look, them going down the field and scoring on that first drive, no question helped.
Hey, what a difference!
The pick,
They choose the coin toss, which we didn't talk about, but I thought that was a bad move by Saleh to not get the coin toss after the week off, and I thought he should have given Zach Wilson a vote of confidence. All right, whatever. So he gets the coin toss, and like you said, it translates into a touchdown drive with Mike LaFleur up in the booth. And wasn't it like even before the touchdown, the first few plays, you noticed it? It was like, wait a second, what is this? It just felt immediately on the first few plays like something was different.
Pace was different,
yep.
Right? They were in and out of the huddle. They weren't wasting time. Then you had the pick where he got stopped at the 1 yard line, where the Jets pulled a DK Metcalf from years ago and stopped them at the 1 yard line and prevented them from scoring. Although as somebody who had a Cincy defense in his league, I was, kind of hoping for the 6 points there.
Well, they didn't score, so that's a good thing.
And then they stopped them for 4 straight.
Then that was good.
Which was the amazing piece of the puzzle, right? And then, look, you said down 11, and all of a sudden, look, you kind of got a sense they were going to make it close, right? The question is could they stop Cincy? And that pick by Burrow was a pretty crappy throw.
Right, so fast too. First play, it happened so fast.
Jack Lawson with a very big play. I think he said it's his first pick ever, in like going all the way back to I think high school. So he gets the pick. They get into the end zone, score again, and then defensively they come up because you really thought when Cincy got the ball back is nice story. They're going down. They're at least tying this, and we're going to overtime.
That's what I felt too. I felt this was overtime, and then who knows what's going to happen in overtime. It's probably going to be one of those. All right, we played well, but it just is. And then to get the call, like that doesn't happen to us. We're usually on the other side, getting robbed by these terrible calls.
It was that was a horrible.
Terrible.
Call. That was a
imagine if that
call.
was on primetime television. That would have been the talk of the NFL. It was terrible. So the Jets get a break, and they deserved it. Look, and by the way, even the Bengals, Mike Hilton even said it. Hey, we shouldn't have been in that spot. And you know what? When you're on that side, you're absolutely right. You never leave a game in the hands of the officials when you are the better football team. But was also nice when in Williams coming up with the sack when they stopped him on the four downs at the goal line.
Yep.
Rankin's coming up with some big plays. You mentioned Lawson coming up with the big interception. There were guys that were making plays that we haven't really seen for a while. And was it a coincidence that Mosley was out there and Davis was out there and May was out there? There was one missing guy, the guy that was going to be missing the entire season, Carl Lawson. But we said it last week. This was going to be an opportunity to see the defense, potentially our whole defense that we knew was going to be there this season. And look, it wasn't a great defensive performance, but against that against that offense, the defense did what they were supposed to do under the circumstances. And I don't think they could have played much better, to tell you the truth.
Look, I was more impressed by the offense against the Cincinnati defense that pretty much shut down Baltimore for the most part, right before that, the week. And we talked about pace, right? So Michael Carter, not a ton of running yards, but a major weapon out of the backfield, right?
It wasn't that nice.
Favorite guy,
the screens.
Your favorite guy, Ty Johnson, a weapon out of the backfield.
The screens.
Your favorite guy, right?
We got the screen game going, and the jet sweeps.
Even without Corey Davis, right? The wide receivers stepped up. Berrios touchdown. You had Tyler Kroft with a touchdown reception.
And I don't think that was I guess if the rules are the rules, and maybe the Berrios touchdown was a touchdown, but it was that one. That was also kind of wow. I'm surprised that they actually gave that one to us.
Yep. Right. Kroft with a touchdown from the tight end spot. Crowder was all over the place in that game, making catches like
the one bad
all
fumble,
over the place.
But he played well.
Right. So, and the offensive line, all of a sudden, Mr. Vera Tucker starting to show his true talent. The last 3-4 weeks, you're starting to see. And again, the problem is I've heard Becton may not be back for a couple of more weeks. Is the rumor, as I heard yesterday, that it may be a little couple more weeks.
I don't think they've missed him.
No, but injury. Look, you'd like to see him and Vera Tucker get 4 or 5 games next to each other, to start to see what we really have there, right? Because first of all, as much as we like Becton, as much as I like Becton, his injury history, jury's still pretty out on
Yep.
him, right? You don't know if he's reliable at all, given this gone on the last 2 years, right? Vera Tucker, you're starting to see a lot more signs as to what he could be and what they thought they were getting when they moved up to select him. Becton, I think we have high hopes for, but there still has to be a substantive number of questions given the time that he's missed.
Yeah, look, I think now it was interesting that they made the trade today for the Kansas City lineman, and that's a good. I don't really, I don't know if there's any specific injuries that they're concerned about. Maybe they're just looking at it as another depth piece. Hey, I'm kind of not really sure what other than that's for. Fant.
Depth for the future, right? Because he's a free. His contract, like Brown's, ends at the end of the year, right? Maybe you get him in, maybe he works a couple games, and maybe.
Well, how many years does he have left on his contract?
I think he's done. After this year, he's done. Like Brown, both he and Brown.
So that's what I'm kind of saying. That's why I'm kind of surprised.
So basically, it's a kick the tires kind of a move, right? And if he's reasonable and you can sign him,
how old is he?
At a decent price? Isn't 27, 28 maybe? Is he that old?
Been around a little while.
That old. A little while, right? But look, he took time. Right, he didn't play last year because of the COVID. Right, he missed the whole year. But in when they won the Super Bowl, he actually played very well for that team.
He's a good veteran piece. Yeah, he's a good veteran piece. I just kind of surprised that. I mean, they must have a reason. It must be, like I said, it got to be there's to have some depth questions in the interior.
Well, and you can now, and now Yeboah may get a shot to come off the practice squad and see some time also.
And by the way, I know he gave up the 1 sack and he had the 5-yard penalty, but in general, I thought Udoka played pretty well because he was matched up with Hendrickson for the most part, and the Hendrickson sack wasn't one of those that was really his fault. You know, the coverage was tight. Quarterback steps up. Udoka doesn't know that, and Hendrickson's right in the right position to get the sack. So I thought for him to come in for an entire half and play left tackle and play a lot against Hendrickson, I thought he did a pretty good job, and that was important to see Udoka step up because we know how important it is to have that extra offensive tackle in case they need him moving forward, especially if we have no idea what's going on with Becton. I don't know about the status as of today about George Fant. And hopefully he'll play on Thursday because it's a short week. If not, then Udoka starts.
Yep, agreed. And look, the running attack wasn't dominant, but they were able to get holes periodically. He gave Wilson also used his legs a little bit, extended some plays, made some nice plays to kind of step up in the pocket also. They're able to shuffle offensive linemen as necessary. Wide receivers played well. Look, they put up 30-something points. So, I mean, overall, it's a pretty good game against a pretty decent Bengals defense. I mean, it's not like it's a weak defense, especially as we see what they did to Lamar Jackson before that.
No question. Look, the Bengals, that was the most points the Bengals had given up all season. That says something about what the Jets did. It was nice to see Zuniga get a sack, and I'm assuming that he played because Huff was banged up and was inactive. Hey, he came up with a sack. He should play again. You know, let's see if this is a good opportunity for Zuniga to get out there and to perform a little bit better than he's played so far after being drafted pretty high last year. Look, Eccles having to cover a player like Chase for a lot of the game actually was okay. I mean, he really got beat a couple times for touchdowns, but Chase dropped one. But still, this is what we talk about as far as the learning. You get to learn against the best players out there. And this is just a great learning experience for a guy like Eccles. You know, Hall looks like he's turning into a bona fide number one as far as a guy that can get better and be the type of number one that we really count on. And there was one blown assignment deep, the one where, what was it, Higgins, I believe, that caught the long 45-yarder between Davis and May. Other than that, you know, not hearing Marcus May's name most of the day, I guess, was a good thing, with the exception of that play. So in general, they did a really good job strategizing, trying to stay away from the Bengals' big play. And that kind of worked in their favor because they also did a pretty good job against the run. You know, and it was, look, we talked about how terrible their run defense and their overall defensive line played last week against the Bengals. They knew that. And so they didn't need us to tell them how bad they played.
Against the Patriots.
Yes, against the Patriots. They didn't need us to tell them how bad they played.
No. The numbers were fairly evident of just how bad that
Yeah,
was.
so that was a really good job. I'm still surprised that we haven't heard much at all about John Franklin Myers for the past few games. I'm not sure what's going on there. Hopefully, he'll pick it up. Uh, Other than that, Elijah Moore could have scored a touchdown. They had the penalty. Moore was wide open. It's like they finally opened up the deep part of the passing game, and the Bengals gave it a little bit, and they got him. They caught him, but White did not throw a good pass, and that's the only thing that we haven't seen yet from White. He's very good. He's a very good timing thrower. Exactly fits this offense, but does he have the ability to throw the ball down the field accurately? That's going to be, if he has aspirations of being a starting quarterback in the NFL, that is going to have to be something that he's going to have to prove that he could be very successful at, and maybe we'll get an opportunity to see that on Thursday night.
Be an interesting game on Thursday night. We'll see if Quentin Wilson plays for Indy, and that would be a big
Who's
loss
that?
for them if he's out. Quentin Nelson, the guard for Indy,
Yeah.
right? Defensively, look, major test against Jonathan Taylor, who we know how good Taylor is.
Oh, yeah.
Pittman
Absolutely.
Pittman is kind of morphing into a number one there. Maybe Ty Hilton is back, but Pittman is clearly the number one there. Wentz, I thought, was okay against Tennessee. Just a really bad throw at the end, trying to force it to Pittman that resulted in the pick and the field goal for the game winner by them. But give Wentz credit. He's banged up and he's playing through completely being banged up. Yet he did a nice job against Tennessee, and he's willing to use his legs, which is one of those things that Jets have to watch out for.
He had four straight games of 2 touchdowns and no interceptions before the Tennessee game.
Yep, and that last throw was just a bad read, right? He tried to double force it into double coverage to go to Pittman, which was a bad read. But you can see why he was on a team that was so good before he got hurt and Foles took over. The injuries have sapped a little bit away from him, but the Jets have a tough battle, right? They go from Jones to Burrow to Wentz, and I'm not putting Wentz in the Burrow class right now, but it's not like they're facing a weak quarterback, right? They have their hands full in this week, especially with the connection that he and Pittman seem to have gotten, and Taylor and Hines coming out of the backfield as well a little bit.
The Colts are still a playoff caliber team, so. I don't think there's a big difference at all between the Colts and the Bengals. If the Jets somehow find a way to stay with the Colts or beat the Colts, to me, it's just as impressive of beating the Bengals. So I don't have any dreams of winning on Thursday night. If that happens, then it's just a great, bonus after what happened on Sunday. The thing that White has to do a little bit better of, too many deflected passes at the line of scrimmage. And the 2 deflected passes that led to interceptions. So the more he deflected passes, the more opportunities for interceptions. So he's got to cut that down. And that's the deal.
That's throwing lanes and everything else, right? That's on the offensive line as well to hopefully give him those lanes. Sometimes you just don't have a choice.
And how about Carter almost blowing it by stopping short of the first down?
I watched that. I'm watching it going, dude, what? I understand you want to stay in bounds. I completely get you want to stay in bounds, right? But how about get past the marker first and then
just imagine if we had a punt.
If they lose, he would have been the complete GOAT because of it.
Oh, so that's another good reason that and that 2-point play was really cool. That was nice. It was kind of, and look, Jamison Crowder's still here.
Hey, look, you're not criticizing LaFleur's play calling this week.
No, there's nothing to criticize. Well, look, it's not the play calling, as we said last week. They've got the offense. They're sticking with the offense. There's not going to be any, crazy mastermind.
He did some funky stuff.
No, there were a couple of, again, there was the 2-point conversion. That was kind of cool. And there was one play that looked like it was a disaster, but we got the guy the Apple to have a holding call. They tried that, another one of those throws. Crowder maybe as well. So I think it was good that they held on that play because I don't think that was going anywhere. But yeah, it was nice that they finally were able to run a couple of those plays. And look, what did they start off with? Throwing the football. It wasn't, we win the coin toss, we defer. When we get the ball, we're going to go hand the ball off for 2 yards, incomplete 2nd and 8, incomplete 3rd and 8, punt. Instead, they get the coin toss, they take the ball, they throw the ball. That opens up the game, and from the start, it was just nice to see.
Agreed.
All right, so everybody's here except Daniel Brown, and I don't even know if he's been playing, so I don't think we missed Daniel Brown. He's good on special teams, but that's about it. So,
yep, agreed.
We'll talk more next week. We'll talk more maybe Thursday night. I don't know. We'll talk at some point in the next few days about this about this Colt matchup, and we'll have a little bit more time as well to digest everything, and hopefully we'll have a fun game on national TV, because coming into the Cincinnati game, that was a game we were dreading. It was almost like an embarrassment that we were going to have to play on national TV, so I'm not so embarrassed anymore.
And I'm sure the NFL Network is thinking the exact same thing right now, as they have a nice story to hype with Mike Wilson as opposed to a Jet
can't
team
even get
that
it
is
right.
coming in having lost several in a row.
Mike White.
Mike White.
That's going to happen.
Sorry.
Yeah, well,
Right, Mike White. So they now have a storyline to kind of latch onto, as opposed to these sad sack Jets. So makes the matchup a lot more palatable now.
When he got hurt, the first thing that popped into my mind was Trevor Siemian. I go, here we go again. Backup comes in, he gets hurt. Now here goes Josh Johnson for the rest of the game. So anyway, it didn't work out that way. The Jets won. All the good vibes finally went to the Jets. We'll talk about the Colt game in a few days. Jan, appreciate it as always, and enjoy the game on Thursday.
Thanks. Looking forward to it.